At 2:14 in the morning, when the red carpet clips were still looping and Gwen Stefani was trending worldwide, 6 words appeared online. Not from a blogger, not from a gossip account, from Blake Shelton, Blake Shelton's sister. 6 words, and then his mother, Dorothy Shelton, quietly liked the post. No argument, no messy comment thread, just silence. And here's the question nobody can shake. Was that post nostalgia, or was it a warning? Stay with me because what Blake did in the days after that 2:14 a.m. moment says more than any headline ever could. On one side of the internet, Gwen was glowing, cameras flashing, fashion blogs dissecting every detail of her look, headlines calling it a comeback moment. On the other side, an old photo of Blake denim dirt roads, no stylists, no spotlight. Under it 6 words, longtime fans instantly recognized. Words Blake himself used years ago when he talked about home, about staying grounded, about never forgetting where he came from. But here's the kicker. Timing is everything. Posting that at 2:14 a.m., right when the noise fades, and only the real ones are watching. That's intentional. That's when people say what they actually mean. Within minutes, screenshots were everywhere. Reddit threads exploded. TikTok detectives zoomed in like it was forensic evidence. And then something stranger happened. Andy started liking old photos. Not recent ones, old ones. From the Miranda Lambert era. Backyard barbecues, muddy boots. A Blake who laughed too loud and didn't care who was watching. She didn't comment. She didn't explain. She just liked, and liked, and liked. You don't do that accidentally. Here's what made this uncomfortable. No one screamed. No one went on a podcast. No tearful Instagram live. Just restraint. And restraint forces people to lean in. Because, when someone who rarely posts suddenly speaks, even subtly, you know it cost them something. Imagine being Blake in that moment. Your wife just had a massive night, standing ovations, global headlines. And back home, your sister posts a reminder of who you used to be. Not the Hollywood Blake, the Oklahoma Blake, and then your mom taps. Like now, this isn't about fashion or awards, it's about identity. People think fame flips a switch. It doesn't single quotes. It stretches you. Slowly year after year. You don't notice it while you're living it, but the people who grew up with you, they notice everything. The voice sounds slightly different in interviews. The humor gets polished. The rough edges soften. There's actually research behind this. A University of Georgia study once found that people who experience rapid upward mobility financially or socially often unconsciously adjust their speech patterns and body language to fit new environments. They don't mean to, it just happens. What if that's what Andy was reacting to? Not betrayal, not Gwen, just drift. And drift hurts more than conflict. Let's be fair. Gwen represents reinvention. That's her world. Pop music demands evolution. If you don't reinvent, you disappear. Blake built his brand on roots, stability, country authenticity. That tension. It's not about good or bad, it's about gravity. One world runs on reinvention, the other runs on memory, and when someone stands between both, someone always feels like they're losing something. Kelly Clarkson once admitted after her divorce that somewhere in maintaining a public persona, she lost track of who she was off camera. That kind of slow identity erosion doesn't trend, it creeps. What if Indy feared that for her brother? Not that he married the wrong person, but that he was slowly becoming a version of himself. Optimized for red carpets instead of front porches. Wait, why does this even matter? Why are millions of people dissecting 6 words from a sister? Because this isn't just about Blake Shelton, it's about something universal. How many people watching this feel caught between 2 worlds? The version of you your family knows, and the version of you your career demands. That tension doesn't require Grammys. It just requires growth, and growth always creates distance somewhere. Now here's where it gets weird. After that night, Blake didn't post no celebratory message, no backstage photo with Gwen. For a man who usually shares everything, that silence was loud. Was he protecting his wife from online speculation, processing privately, or stuck in the middle? Then came the move no one expected. He flew back to Oklahoma early. No press release, no camera crew. Just home. Neighbors reportedly saw him driving familiar roads. Alone. Now ask yourself something. Would someone fully aligned with their new life rush home like that? Or was he recalibrating? Psychologists call it identity anchoring. When your environment feels unstable, you return to places that remind you who you are. Muscle memory. Instinct. Meanwhile, Gwen kept moving. Appearances, smiles, headlines praising her Grammy moment. Hollywood teaches composure. That doesn't mean you don't feel things. It just means you don't show them. Imagine being her. You marry into a tight-knit Oklahoma family. You try to blend two completely different cultures. Years later, a 6-word post reignites whispers that you changed him. That's heavy. And here's the uncomfortable truth. When someone becomes more famous after marrying you, people assume you reshaped them. Fair or not, that assumption sticks. Sources say, Andy didn't accuse. She said something simpler. I miss you. That lands harder than any attack. Because now Blake isn't defending himself. He's reflecting. And reflection is dangerous when you've been moving at celebrity speed for years. In private, conversations reportedly stretched longer again. Phone calls weren't rushed. Visits became slightly more frequent, small adjustments. The kind that never make headlines but rebuild something quietly. Fans started noticing something, more low-key appearances. Fewer flashy crossover moments, interviews leaning harder into country roots. Is that coincidence? Or recalibration happening in real time? Because when family tension surfaces publicly, even subtly, it forces evaluation. You can ignore tabloids. You can't ignore your sister. They didn't fracture the family. They forced alignment. And here's the twist no one expected. Blake listened, going home, instead of clapping back. That's not weakness. That's intention. Ignoring it would have been easier. Pretending it didn't matter would have been safer for his brand. But he chose the harder route. Face-to-face conversations, reassurance. Presence. And presence is expensive when you're famous. This was never about Miranda. Never about Gwen. Never about Grammys. Was about one question echoing underneath it all. Who are you becoming? Because once someone who knew you before the fame asks that, you can't unhear it. Every stage he steps on now carries that quiet tension. Hollywood, watching, home watching, and somewhere between, Oklahoma dirt roads and flashing red carpets, a man is trying to hold two versions of himself without dropping either. That's not scandal. That's identity, and identity battles are louder than any award show. So the next time Blake walks onto a stage, listen carefully, not just to what he sings, but to who he sounds like. Because, at 2:14 in the morning, 6 quiet words did something no Grammy ever could. They held up a mirror. And the reflection, that's still unfolding.